That's my adventure in Bangladesh, first week of Bangladesh. And then I went back to Mumbai. I had flown out to India, but I decided to go back by ship because to cross the Indian Ocean and go to Mombasa. By that time, 1973, Idi Amin had already had his dream in Uganda. 72, he expelled all the Asians. So my mother said to me, I think you should go back to Britain. This Kenya and Uganda are no place for Asian women. Just go. We all had British passports, right, at that time. So I applied for a visa to return to Kenya, and for 6 months, maybe 9 months, I became the administrator of the Aga Khan Hospital in Mombasa. And I worked as the administrator, right? Completely in charge of a hospital, right? And I learned a lot, and I would watch the operations take place and learn a lot of things, but they had never had a woman administrator in a hospital in Kenya before. So the Daily Nation was our newspaper. They came and did a short spiel, short article with my photograph in the local paper. I don't have a copy, but they were Rashida Noor-Mohamed, the female hospital administrator. So it had some publicity. Anyway, 9 months later, I returned to Britain with my English friends. And they were still there with me in Kenya. And so I had company to come back. I went and lived in Bristol because I liked Bristol as a city. And again, all those Ismailis that I had made friends with, some of them were still there. So it was like not a bad homecoming, right? But that was the end of my life in Kenya and the beginning of my life as a citizen of United Kingdom. Yeah, I think maybe I should go on to the next question.
Okay, yes, Mama. So, during these years of services, do you have a mulaqat with Hazir Imam alayhi salam? Do you remember any special event?
Yes, so my story is really strange in a way, right? When I returned to Bristol, I became a teacher again in a very big comprehensive school, they are called. The comprehensive schools are they were established to break down the obsession with grammar schools in Britain, right? Grammar schools is where rich people's children go. So the Labour government established comprehensive schools so that rich and poor and middle class can all study together, right? So this was a model comprehensive school, very large. There were 120 staff, teachers. I was the only one with a dark skin. The rest were all white, okay? And I taught geography and humanities and things like this. But I did not like the contrast between Asian and African children and British white children was very, very drastic. British white children, for them education is compulsory. Whereas for Asian and African children in Africa, they could only have education if they could afford it, right? So in Britain, since it's compulsory, they don't have value for it, right? They feel that they are forced to go to school until the age of 16, right? And so they don't value education, and they're very naughty as well, and very, they don't treat education as a serious matter, which is completely alien to people like us. So I taught for a year and a half, and then I decided, no, that was not for me. So I left teaching. Now, with a degree and a postgraduate certificate, what do? You can't teach? You don't want to teach? What do? um, I went back to college. I went back to what was known as a polytechnic in Bristol. And in this polytechnic, I chose a business studies and secretarial. It's very strange. I don't know, there was something guiding me, right? So the secretarial course meant I had to learn touch typing, on electric typewriters. And I had to learn shorthand, which if you don't use, you forget very quickly. But at that time, I had a good speed with shorthand. And on the business side, you learn economics and things like that. It's a 9-month course, 1 year, and you get another postgraduate certificate, yes? I did that thinking that with my degree and secretarial skills, I could now have a job as an administrator in a business or wherever. Wherever I went for a job interview, they all said, you are overqualified for this. Some of them were genuine, but many of them were actually saying, we don't have a job for a brown woman. There was a lot of discrimination to begin with in Britain, right? I'm talking about the early 70s. There was race legislation, but it was still very, very basic, right? So eventually, I applied for the education officer position with the Birmingham Race Relations Council. Now you see how my past in the colony and this segregation of colors, etc. And now I end up, I applied for this post. There were 70 people competing with me at that time for this post, but they gave it to me. I became the education officer of Birmingham, which is the second largest city in Britain after London. Lots of immigrants, Pakistani, Bangladesh, Indian, and Caribbean people as well. And my job was to be their spokesperson. I had to go to many, many meetings and give lots of talks and talk against discrimination, etc., etc. So it was a very, very hectic, very demanding, very challenging, but also at the same time a job in which you have to fight for people, and it makes you very aggressive because this is race relations, right? I'll give you an example of my aggression, right? So once I had to talk to about 400-500 teachers, and I decided that I wanted to, teach them a lesson. Majority were all white, right? I and another black woman who was a writer of stories, we were on the platform. So when my turn came, I stood up. I went to the microphone and I spoke for a full minute and a half. I spoke in Gujarati. Just anything, right? I just talked about myself in Gujarati. And there was not a single person who understood what I was. And I could see their faces, really troubled, really puzzled. They didn't know what I was doing, right? So I finally finished and I said, that was my mother tongue. Now I'm going to speak in my second language, English. And then they all sort of sat up, right? Because what I had noticed was that when immigrant children came, they didn't know any English, right? So because you don't know English, you are stupid. So you don't know anything. Those children knew whatever the language was, Urdu, Hindi, whatever. They knew mathematics, they knew other subjects, but in Hindi or in Urdu, not in English. But because they didn't know English, they were considered imbeciles, stupid, right? So I wanted to demonstrate to these teachers that not knowing English should not be against these children, right? That give them a chance in their arithmetic, maths, whatever, and also give them extra help in English. So this is the type of thing I had to do, was to be very aggressive. But it was a very prestigious position, right? I had many, many contacts in colleges, etc., right? So Maulana Hazar Imam in 1979 said to the Council of United Kingdom, I wish to come to United Kingdom for 1 week, whole week, on the basis that one didar will be outside London. So Maulana Hazar Imam put a condition that he would come to Britain for a week, but that one of the didars must be out of London. It should not, all the didars should not be in London. To organize a didar, the Jamaat has to have resources, has to have the right kind of people. So they said, the council in London said, Birmingham and Leicester, these were the two centres where there were lots of Ismailis. You should combine together and you should arrange this didar. Now, Leicester people had to come to Birmingham for the meetings, right? Planning, etc. They attended one or two meetings and then they said, no, it's too far for us, so we are not coming. So the whole challenge went on the shoulders of the Birmingham Jamaat. But in Birmingham Jamaat, there were only 3 of us who could really take this work on. One was a dentist, one was an accountant, 2 men, and myself. Because the rest were not that well educated and they didn't have the resources to do this. So my job was to do the exhibition. We had a very big exhibition center because Birmingham is an industrial city. There is what is called the National Exhibition Center with different halls. And then the catering is in a different building, etc. It has a railway station which has a direct link with the city of Birmingham. So this was chosen as the site of the Padramni, the Didar, the Mulakat, and I was in charge of liaising with the manager of that hall, the National Exhibition Center, and I was given the charge of doing the stage. So this is something very different now, which is that from 1976 in Britain there was a big Islamic exhibition called the World of Islam Festival. There were exhibitions in London at many galleries. There were exhibitions in other parts of the United Kingdom. And I have always been interested in Islamic art. So I had gone to all these exhibitions. I had bought all the books which were published about art, etc. And now in Birmingham, I'm in charge of the decoration, and I was also the one who had contacts with the art college in Birmingham, with the lecturers, professors in the art. So I commissioned them. I said to them, you design an Islamic art stage for our visit of His Highness the Aga Khan. And for the first time, I think anywhere in the world, the stage was made from geometric patterns, calligraphy, Kul Huwallahu Ahad in a circle, and everything was Islamic about the stage. And when Maulana Hazar Imam did arrive, he sat down and he looked at everything. And I think he was surprised because normally up to the building of the Ismaili Center, which was later, 5 years down the line, Ismaili is always decorated in red and green. Whenever Imam, whichever part of the world he went to, the decoration would always be red and green because this is my flag, right? I didn't have that, right? I had Islamic patterns in blue and other colors, right? All done by professional lecturers, right? And so, yes, Hazar Imam arrived at 8 o'clock in the morning with Begum Salima, and he went to the stage. The steps were a bit steep, because the council in London had given us a very limited budget. We only spent £1,200 on the stage, which was nothing, right? These people did me a favor because they knew me, right? And Princess Salima, Begum Salima, in a sari, was difficult for her to climb. So Hazrat Imam helped her as well, right? And then Hazrat Imam performed some weddings, and then Begum Salima went. She was visiting the children's hospital. Because the mayor of Birmingham was going to give a lunch in honor of Hazrat Imam in this exhibition area, right? So Hazrat Imam never accepts hospitality just like that. So Begum Salima went to the children's hospital to give them a gift of £10,000. Hazrat Imam performed 235 mehmanis. There were 5,000 Ismailis in the audience. And then he went to another hall where he performed over 200 what are called Mahadin Chanta. This is a final chanta which the Imam gives you personally. So the Ismaili Jamaat at that time consisted of many senior citizens because so many families had been booted out of Uganda, right, in 72, 73. So these were all, living in the north of England. We had 200 plus chantas. When the chantas were coming to an end, Hazrat Imam turned to the president and said, "Amir, I would like a coffee break." Now, we, the organizers, had requested the council that, Hazrat Imam would need a break because he was going to be there from 8 o'clock to 12:30. He can't, expect him, But they were very unsympathetic, right? They felt that this was only one day for Hazrat Imam, so they didn't need to do anything special. But Hazrat Imam himself now said, "I would like a coffee break." So, who's going to arrange this? Right? So they are looking for me. Right? I'm in a uniform. I was a volunteer, so I had a uniform. I looked like any other volunteer in a grey skirt and a white blouse. And my hair was brown at that time. And they had not given us, the local organizers, what were called walkie-talkies at that time, right? Only the London people had the walkie-talkies. So now they have to find me. So it took time for them to find me, right? Eventually they found me. I had to go running to the manager's office to set it all up. We had to open the mayor's parlor. We had to seal off the public area with a security guard line. We had to order the coffee, which was from another building. And Hazrat Imam is going to finish the chantas very soon, and he's going to come. So I had to do all that, right? Now, when I finish my story, you'll realize why it all happened the way it happened, is that I went to the mayor's parlor, I went to the washroom, I cleaned it a little bit, I kept the room ready, and Hazrat Imam came. But there's no sign of the coffee. So Hazrat Imam was accompanied by Sir the Diwan, Sir Ibu Pirbhai, who was Diwan, the number 3 Diwan.